Yes, ma'am.
A lot of time at home. And a lot of the conversations today have been about, how brands have been engaging their consumers at home.
Mhm.
And what's really changed. I think when I was first paired with you, I was like, oh my God, I have followed Walker and Co. since its inception. And Tristan and everything that he's been doing, his move to Atlanta, all of that. But what I have most admired about this brand has really been its mission around building a company's whose purpose is to make health and beauty simple for people of color. And I could not have been even more thrilled when the deal was struck with P&G. So I'm eager to hear all about that and for our audience to learn more about what's been happening, how you've been engaging your consumer base at home. But let's start. I want everyone to know, who is Tia Cummings and what's her role at Walker and Co.
Yeah, so I am the VP of Marketing at Walker and Co. That entails obviously brand marketing, consumer insights, innovation, and consumer experience. And it has been an awesome ride. I've been with the company about a year and a half. So I was brought in after the P&G acquisition. And yeah, so that's what I do. It's a whole lot of things with a really great team of folks, trying to, like you said, help make health and beauty simple for people of color, which, frankly, I think is a really noble mission that Tristan had when he founded this company back in 2013, right? He realized that there was just a gap in the marketplace for products for people that look like him. And he says all the time, he's like, I was tired of feeling like a second class citizen when I walked down the aisles, right? Looking for grooming products made for my hair and my skin. And so that was really, what sparked him to launch this company and these brands. 8 years in, like now we're owned by P&G, but still running independently, which is even better. Tristan is still our CEO. And I love that P&G they haven't tried to swallow us, right? They've tried to support us and let us leverage their expertise and scale when it benefits us and makes sense, but allow us to stay true to who we are as a company and as a brand, which is really, I think, unique.
Yeah, it really is unique. And I think it also speaks to the value that Walker and Co. brings to the marketplace. It goes without saying, I think everybody said this, the last year has literally been like a reckoning. We've had to address all things, whether it's been issues of social injustice, of racism, of health, just our own perceptions of ourselves. The pandemic has really pushed us in all dimensions. I'd love to hear from you, what was that experience like for Walker and Co? How did you engage your consumer base? Salons were closed. We couldn't go to beauty shops. We couldn't do a lot of things. I mean, I think we've all invested in a lot of at-home beauty products now. I've become my own personal manicurist. But how did
You
you
and me both.
how did you guys really address some of that? And how did you keep your loyal consumer base still motivated and excited about the brand?
Oh man, yeah, there's a lot in that question, and there's so much. So I think, at the onset of, call it March, right, with the pandemic, we were
Mhm.
facing a lot of the challenges that a lot of brands were in terms of how do we pivot, right? This is something we've never faced before, and how do we operate, right, as marketers? And one of the things that was so crucial to Walker and growing our awareness as a young brand was experiential and just getting out in the community and talking and meeting consumers. And all of a sudden, we had to scrap all of those plans, right? So it's like, okay, how do we maintain those connections, right, with people? How do we break through? I don't have the big media budgets, right, to compete. And that landscape got even more competitive as all brands were trying to buy up all the content and all the media space because people were stuck at home. They're like, this is great. Now I can, shove my ads at you. That wouldn't work for me, right? I can't compete on that level. So we had those challenges of how do we pivot our marketing efforts on top of the fact that as a Black founded brand, and targeting Black Americans and people of color with everything that was going on, the pandemic had an outsized impact on people of color, right? obviously the fight for racial justice does too. And so it was personal to us. So not just, okay, how are we thinking about our marketing efforts and growing this business, but how are we thinking about supporting our consumers, right? Going through one of the toughest times ever, at least in our generation, right? And so, man, we went to work in terms of thinking, okay, when we think about pivoting from a marketing standpoint, okay, we can't do these big experiential events that we wanted to do. But what was the essence? What were we really trying to do? It was about connection, right? So how can we take those in-person events and try to recreate some of that connectiveness online? And so we started doing IG Live discussion series, leveraging a lot of our, we call them our Bevel family, whether it's our barbers, some of our celeb friends of the brand, and just engaging in conversations with the community. How are you feeling? What are you, what's going on in your life? How are you coping? And just letting our fans sort of engage in the conversation and discussion. And so we were doing those probably twice a week, just to help bring people together for, unplanned, unscripted discussions. We got a lot of positive feedback there. When you think about the challenges that people were facing, I love that you mentioned salons and barbershops were closed. They're hit hard because these are usually small, entrepreneurs, and their livelihood is now at risk. And in Atlanta, which you are now, but at the time, Mayor Lance Bottoms announced a Strength and Beauty Fund to really help financially support these salon owners and barbers. And we were the first company to raise our hand and say, Mayor, we want to match your donation because this is important to us, right? These are our people, and we want to help support them to ensure that they can make it through this pandemic. Transparently, as a brand, we benefited, and it almost sounds bad to say, but when everything closed down, everyone started doing their own grooming, right? So they're buying our, barber tools to do their own grooming at home. And so we saw a huge bump in sales at the outset of the pandemic. And so that, I think, sort of reinforced for us, okay, we've got to do even more to help people, right? It's almost like, feel bad for benefiting from the hardships of people. So what are we going to do to give back, And that's what we focused on. I mean, we partnered with an all boys high school in Chicago that is in low income neighborhoods, primarily all Black and Latino. And there was a concern when the schools closed, they were going to fall behind because they didn't have access to laptops and things to support distance learning. Well, we sent laptops to the entire school to ensure that they don't fall behind in their studies. With the fight for racial justice, we saw that headline after headline in the news was just talking about the mental health of Black Americans really suffering because of the pandemic, because of the fight for racial justice, but they weren't getting help for a variety of reasons, right? There's a lot of stigma around it. They couldn't afford the cost. And so we were like, okay, what can we do in this space? Well, Headspace raised their hands and they would be happy to partner with us. And so we offered free subscriptions to Headspace, which, for those who aren't aware, it's sort of a mindfulness meditation app, really helps to help with, stress, anxiety, depression. And so we offered it for free, no strings attached. And that's the piece that usually people are like, what do you mean no strings attached? I said, that means here's a code, go to Headspace, download the app. You have a month's free access to use all of its tools, and we don't want anything in return, right? You don't have to sign up to receive emails. I have no idea who actually went and used the offer. I know it was a lot of people because Headspace came and told us, which was great because we wanted to help a lot of people. But I have no way of knowing who they are, and I can't retarget and remarket to them, which I know we love to do as marketers, but it wasn't about that, right? It was really.
I got to stop you, Tia. We are data-driven marketers. There is not an industry trade that you could pick up today or any day that doesn't talk about the importance of data, knowing who your customer is, being able to remarket, push them through the conversion funnel, do this, do that, data.
Yes, all of that.
I'm sure every marketer who's listening to this going, you did what? You didn't ask for any data? I mean, why? Why did you make that choice? Because many people might say, ooh, you missed an opportunity. Ooh, I don't know if that was really the right choice. Yeah. Why did Walker & Co. make that choice not to collect data in that moment?
It's a great question. And you're the first person to ask me that, right? Because we were primarily a direct to consumer business, we have a lot of first party data. So we're all about doing all of the retargeting and pulling people through the funnel. This was about leaning into our brand purpose, right? If we're a brand here to support people of color and they are going through the hardest time ever, let's try to think about what they need and how we can help them, right? Sincerely and authentically, without seeming like we're trying to get something out of it. And I think what we were noticing over the summer, especially last year, right? A lot of, and I hate to call it, but it was performative marketing, right?
Mhm.
It was all about, okay, well, we got to do something so it looks good. Let's write this check. Let's do this. But the intent and, the authenticity wasn't there. And it was really important to us that our consumers know, no, we are sincere in wanting to help you, right? When we say who we are, this is who we are, right? And we want to purely help you in this moment get through a tough time, right? And if you want to buy our products, great, but there was no marketing message tied to it, right? This was separate. This was about doing what's best for our consumers and taking the long view, right? One of the things that we
Mhm.
talk a lot about, we talk about data, everyone talks about ROAS, ROI. We do too. But the other thing we talk about a lot is LTV, lifetime value, right? And really thinking long term, how are we going to grow this brand and really build these long term relationships? And so this was playing in that vein. And so what I will tell you is we got a ton of press and attention behind all of these things we were doing in the community, right? Because we were just doing as much good as we could on our tiny yard as a tiny brand, but we were trying to do as much good as we could for the people. And so we got so much press coverage, and people were like, "This what? You guys are doing what now?" And then we started getting messages, and people were sharing their stories. Thank you for this, right? Your Headspace offer really helped me. I was going through a hard time. I didn't know what I was going to do, and so we kind of blew up. We got over 7 billion impressions in
What?
the month of June. Yes, you heard that right. 7 billion.
In case someone missed it.
7 billion. And we're as a brand, we're like, what in what? Everyone's talking about us. And so that quarter, April, May, June, was our best quarter in the company's history. And as I just said, we spent that entire quarter focusing on how can we help our consumers? What matters most to them in this moment? It's probably not another ad saying, hey, buy our razor. Hey, buy our shampoo. No one's thinking about that when they're going through a hard time. And so just by really being able to read the room, right, and think about what is going to matter most and how can we help, we ended up benefiting financially anyway.
That's an amazing story, Tia, because obviously right now, I think for every brand, there is this push-pull of profitability and purpose. And I love that you brought up, it's about that lifetime value of that customer. You got to be in it for the long term. The feedback that you got from customers was amazing. It was phenomenal. I'd love for you to share some of that, because I think as brands are struggling, the moments of social injustice, going through the pandemic, mass shootings, how brands respond. One of the challenges has been around authenticity. We've watched everyone post either black boxes, make pledges, do wonderful things, but there has always been the question of authenticity. Tell us, where that sits in your marketing plan and how Walker has really approached that.
Yeah, and again, I think it goes back to what I said. One of the wonderful things about P&G is they didn't just swallow up our brands and move us internal. We still sit as a separate entity. And that has allowed us to be in our everyday, unapologetically Black and authentic in everything we do. There is no filter, right? We are a very diverse company. If you look, we are made up of people of color from all ethnicities, right? And so that in itself, I think, is different from what you'll see in most companies, right? We are the consumers that we're trying to attract, Black, Asian, all encompassing. And so we're very hypersensitive to again, reading the room and really taking time to see what our consumers are saying, right? Doing the social listening and seeing what consumers are talking about. Obviously, people are engaging with us. They're sharing things on our social channels. They're leaving reviews. Tristan, our CEO, he loves to post on social and ask directly, on his, if you follow him on IG or LinkedIn, hey guys, what love to talk to you about this, and please share with me what you're thinking about this. I don't think you see a lot of CEOs do that, but we're constantly seeking feedback and input from our consumers, right? And that's how we're able to be authentic. We don't assume that we know everything, because that's another trap we could fall into. Because we represent our target consumers, you can say, oh, I know what they're talking about. No, no, no. We're always listening. We're always seeking feedback. We prefer two-way conversations versus just pushing everything at our consumers. And so that is really, really critical to us. It's always trying to stay close to the consumer. And I think that's what allowed us to do everything that we did last year in a way that other brands wouldn't, because we really took the time reading the headlines and, okay, how are our consumers feeling and what do they really need right now? And listening, right? Listening even more than we were talking, right? And then we were able to sort of develop plans and messaging to really, really resonate. And so that's what I tell. I think a lot of brands, we don't spend enough time listening. We don't spend enough time really trying. And I'm not even saying a focus group. You don't have to do all of that in order to get feedback from your consumer, right? There's so much you can get just from going online and following, looking at what people are talking about on Reddit, on Twitter, on Instagram, just really digging deep. And that to me is where you get those nuggets and those insights that can lead to some of those breakthrough things, like we're just going to give away free mental health services to people, right? Like it's not something that you would normally come up with.
Yeah, that's phenomenal. I mean, I think brands often don't understand the value of just listening and allowing the consumer to really guide you. I think that's where you truly get some of the best insights. As you look back upon this, you said something that struck me, and I wanted to repeat it just because, talk about a tweetable. P&G allowed you to be unapologetically Black. And most importantly, most profitable, and say it again, most profitable year in being exactly who you are. How did that make you feel just as an organization? Because there's lots of naysayers out there. There are lots of pundits and analysts who will tell you that, targeted Black consumer, people of color are not going to generate that kind of revenue. And you've proved that's not the case.
Yeah, we have, right? Black consumers will pay for high quality products. They will pay to support brands that they feel support them and that understand them. Full stop. That's all it takes. And I think a lot of companies and brands hadn't realized that. They hadn't taken the time to realize that. And that's why even when Tristan was trying to launch Walker, he talks about the challenges that he had finding investors at first because they didn't believe that there was a large enough market to support it. Now look at today and just how the multicultural beauty space has exploded in the years since, right? Clearly they were wrong, right? They made assumptions without any data, right? Without listening, without talking to any consumers. And so I think what that just shows you is, that's why it's so important to really take the time to sort of understand a market and understand consumers before you make a decision. The fact that P&G, and what I love about P&G is even as an organization of their size and scale, and you look at the things that they do to support the fight for racial justice. You talk about authenticity. They've been doing it for a long time, not even just, they obviously released some great work the past year. They've been doing things though with like the My Black is Beautiful for many years. They've talked about police brutality. They are very, very frank and they put their money where their mouth is. And I respect that. So I think they were really kind of the perfect company to acquire a brand like Walker because they understand that, we need to listen and we need to let them be authentically who they are so that we don't lose that connection to the culture and to the community. So it feels really good, right? To show that, hey, look, when you do good to support your community, you can get financial benefits, right? You can have strong sales by doing good, right? And we talk a lot about how can brands show up as a force for good in our communities, because we truly believe, again, when you're taking the long-term view and you're building these longer term relationships to think about lifetime value, that's what's going to get you there, right? This little short-term promotion and this little short-term, okay, yeah, that'll get you a little something. But when you're taking the long-term view, you've got to think just beyond the immediate ROAS.
Yeah, no, that's phenomenal. That's such a great story. And definitely Mark Pritchard and that entire P&G team have really been trailblazers in listening to those audiences, being authentic, but most importantly, putting their money where their mouth is. It's all about the action.
It is.
Not about the pledge. It's about the action.
Yes.
I'm excited to know, you've got Bevel. I signed up for Form, which is the new hair care line. I'm eagerly awaiting. What's next? What's coming? When?
A lot. I love to say, like, we're just getting started. So yes, you mentioned Form, our sister brand. It's our multicultural hair care line that is had been in market, but we wanted to sort of rework some things, improve it, make it even better, especially in this more competitive multicultural hair care landscape. And so that will be coming back soon. Bevel will continue to innovate. Our goal of being the only brand in that Black man's bathroom, head to toe grooming. We've got a lot of exciting new products that are coming as soon as this summer and going into early next year. I wish I could tell you about all of them, but I can't just yet. We've got more partnerships, more ways that we're focused on being a force for good. We've got a really exciting one that's going to be launching really soon. Again, I can't share the details. I really wish I could. But you'll just see, like, man, you guys really aren't taking the foot off the gas. And I'm like, no, we aren't, right? We are serious about doing this work to really better our communities and make them better for the world at large. So we've got a lot of exciting stuff coming. I think more people are going to be hearing about Bevel and learning about Bevel. Our awareness is still pretty low as a younger brand, but I'm thinking that's going to change very soon.
Oh, absolutely. And for our audience, share. Bevel's now in more retail outlets.
We've expanded so much just in the last year alone, right? When I joined, we were only in our online store, right? Because we're DTC, but then Target and Amazon. And now we're in Sally Beauty, Walmart. We're doing programs in JCPenney, Best Buy, Kohl's. So we're really showing up everywhere. We continue to grow. I think our focus now is, okay, we've got this great distribution. We've got this great products. What are the other products we need to sort of fill in the gaps to ensure, again, that we've got our man covered head to toe, everything he needs. And then again, what are the other solutions and things that we can provide to the community at large to make them better? So we're focused on both, right? It's products and people, which again, I think makes this brand and this company so unique and really exciting.
Yeah, no, I think absolutely. Well, we've got some questions for you, Tia, from the audience. The first is, what ways is your brand working to stand out in the eye of the consumer? For anyone, any of our audience who's ever gone to a retail outlet that covers people of color or multicultural audiences, there is a bevy of products.
There is.
How are you standing out in the eye of the consumer?
Yeah, I think, one of the things about us, the biggest thing is the way that we lean into our purpose, right? I think you look, there are a lot of multicultural brands. I think you'd be hard pressed to find any in the past year that did as much to support the community as we did, right? Because again, to us, it's not just about the products. It's bigger than that, right? We really want to have a lasting impact on the culture. And so that's one of the ways we stand out, right? You're not reading about these other brands doing all of these types of programs. Yeah. The other thing is, we spend a lot of time and effort really making our products as great as possible. We are a premium priced brand. And that again goes back to, I think, some of the challenges Tristan had in the beginning, because people make the default assumption that people of color aren't going to pay premium prices, right? When you're thinking about expensive beauty, no. People of color only want value brands. And that's just not true, right? So we have very, very high end formulas and those premium ingredients. We're focused on clean beauty. You look at our packaging, it's really beautiful design, right? Our aesthetic is unique in and of itself as well, right? Because we are really trying to elevate, right? We view ourselves as an aspirational brand. And so I think that's another way that we separate ourselves. And then just our connection to culture. I mean, you look at Tristan, who's become an icon of himself and sort of like the face of Black entrepreneurship when he launched this company. And you look at the partnerships and the investors he was able to get, right? You got people like Nas who are rapping about Bevel in their songs, right? Signature Fade with the Bevel Blake. You're not seeing this from other brands, right? We are so immersed in the culture. And I think that's another thing that sets us apart. And we continue to find ways to stay relevant to the culture. Those are, I think, a lot of our key differences, right? And things that we try to cultivate and maintain even as we grow.
So when you think about that, I mean, another question from the audience was, what brands do you look up to? And what leaders in marketing do you admire?
Ooh, oh my goodness. Okay, so yeah, I've got clear marketing leaders. This is tough. In terms of brands, there's a lot of brands in the marketplace. And not even, I'm assuming this question isn't saying, oh, beauty. And I thought I'm taking this as a personal question. If it's not, please clarify. But me personally, a brand that I really look up to and love is Ben and Jerry's, because they are another example of a brand that is focused on having an impact on society beyond just selling products. They make ice cream, y'all. And then you look at the types of things that they say and the things that they do and supporting Black Lives Matter and just going beyond what you would expect an ice cream brand. I have great respect, right? Because that plays in that same vein of being a force for good. I'm a fan of several of the P&G brands and have been even before I joined, because I used to compete head to head against P&G in several categories on some of my previous companies that I've worked for. And they used to make me so angry, but gosh darn it, they were just so good at it. One of them was Always. And when I worked in feminine hygiene years ago, and I worked on Stay Free, and Always was just always knocking it out of the park on feminine hygiene, on pads, y'all. But like you look at things like Just a Girl and the way that they talk to consumers and the way they position this commodity category, they just, again, they really epitomize like just talking to consumers in the ways that are relevant to them because they really took the time to listen. In terms of the people who I look up to from a marketing standpoint, oh my goodness. I look up to the former CMO of Burger King, who I think has now moved on to Activision Blizzard. I'm sure everyone knows Fernando. I just think he's an iconic CMO and I love everything he does. Mark Pritchard, obviously, because again, and this has been before I joined the company, you look at what P&G has been doing for the last, call it 10 years in this space. It's just amazing. I am a huge fangirl of Bozoma St. John. Like, I follow her on all her channels. I want to be her one day. I have no shame in saying that. She is just another, when you look at like a Black female CMO who is authentically herself at all times. And the way she just sort of brings her energy into every space that she enters, I'm a huge, huge fan of that. And I've learned a lot just from watching her. And so she's another one. And you look at the companies that she's touched and the things that she has done, from, you know, Apple to Uber. I'm excited to see what she's going to do at Netflix. But those are some of the people who I look up to in marketing.
Oh, awesome. Awesome. Well, definitely, you know, Mark and Fernando are legends. Bozoma St. John is a legend in the making. And if you're not following her on Instagram, you're missing out, you know, you're missing out. Another question from the audience for you, Tia, is what is your favorite marketing campaign that you've worked on?
Oh man, that's so hard. That's so hard. It's like asking you to pick your favorite child. You don't do that to someone. I have been fortunate enough to launch some amazing campaigns. I won my first Effie Award for a campaign I did at Kellogg's. And that's always going to have a special place in my heart. Things we did in the music space and working with, you know, pop stars and to drive pop. But honestly, okay. I think it is going to be this most recent campaign that I launched here at Walker. Please, none of any of my former coworkers are watching. Don't take offense. I love all of our campaigns. I really do. But this one that we launched in November, and again, tying back to how do you talk to your audience based off what's going on in the world. And we launched this campaign called Creative for Kings. And the thing about it is, because I'm at a smaller company and I don't have a big budget, I don't have a big ad agency coming up with these awesome ideas for me the way I did in the past, I came up with this campaign idea. I am not a creative, to be clear. I'm a marketer. I make that very clear. I love creatives. I respect what they do. But I had inspiration one day and we came up with this campaign. And the whole theme was around uh, Black men are kings. They don't always get the respect and praise that they deserve. And in a year like last year, we wanted to celebrate them. And so this campaign was a celebration of Black men and how they are kings. They are always taking care of their families, they're taking care of business, and they need to take care of themselves. And the response that this campaign got, and if you look at the creative, and it's just showing Black men working, Black men with their families, Black men with their loved ones, and talking about how Bevel is here to support those connections. Like the response we got was amazing because people were like, oh my God, these are the images that we want to see of Black men in the world. This is how we want people to talk to us as Black men. Bevel, you get it. I mean, the response was overwhelming. And so that felt really good. It's like, okay, we have figured out, right, how to talk to our target audience in this tough time around delicate topics, but in a way that they personally connected with. And so I will forever be proud of that campaign. So it's launched in November. It's intended to be sort of a long-term campaign for the brand. So yeah, I'm going to say that one.
Oh, well, congratulations. Sounds like you had a great spark of inspiration. That was an awesome campaign. I saw it. Give yourself a pat on the back. You got some creative juices there.
A little bit. And I would never call myself creative beforehand.
So I've got a question for you. I think often as marketers and as people who are leading brands, the role of marketing has really evolved over the years. And I think for anyone who's in college now and, you're a graduate of an HBCU, Hampton University, a lot of people are like, what's required to go into a marketing field and ultimately, elevate your career, become an SVP, an EVP, a CMO. What advice do you give to young marketers out there who are aspiring to enter into this industry?
Yeah, and it's so funny because I didn't start off on the marketing path. My undergraduate degree is in chemical engineering. So when I tell you I'm not creative, no, I'm analytical. I discovered marketing, small world, through an internship in engineering at Procter & Gamble 20 years ago. And I was sort of intrigued and said, I kind of like this. I might like this more than engineering. And so I ended up having to go to business school so I could get an MBA to make the transition into marketing. So my path has not been linear. And so what I will tell people who have a passion to get into marketing, your path doesn't have to be linear, right? I've taken detours. Even after I got my MBA and said I wanted to go work in brand marketing, I didn't go work in brand marketing. I did something else again. And so what I will say is focused. Be open to trying new things. It may not be a direct path in, right? So consider taking a role in sales. Consider, going to an agency. Try to learn. Marketing is so broad. That's the other thing, right? When you think about marketing as a field, like, God, think about how many roles. Oh, you mean a brand role? Do you mean a consumer insights role? Do you mean PR? Do you mean advertising? And within advertising, do you mean creative? Do you mean strategic planning? Do you even know what it is about marketing or what specific area of marketing you're most interested in? And if not, then take time learning, right? And that's the other thing I say, talk to people. Reach out on LinkedIn to people in all these different aspects and try to figure out what area of marketing most resonates to you. Take internships and try out jobs in different areas that appeal to you. I tell people, think of your career as a marathon, right? You don't have to get there tomorrow. I didn't, get into marketing immediately after college or immediately after grad school, right? It was several years later. And so I just tell people that take the time to figure out what it is that you're really passionate about, what area of marketing you're most interested in, and take the time to meet with people and try jobs that may not seem like they're a direct fit, but could get you skills that are going to help you in your marketing career down the road. But again, that's me based off of my very non-linear, up, down, all over the place journey. I don't think you have to go to business school. That's the other misconception. I thought I did, but I know a lot of people, including engineers like me, who didn't, right? They started off in engineering at a company and then were able to get a marketing role years down the road because they raised their hand. And so I would say that to you, if you're at a current company, you're not in the marketing function, find someone in marketing who's willing to take you under their wing and allow you to join some meetings and build that relationship. You might be able to move into marketing at your current company without even making a change. So there's so many different ways, so many different paths. And I think everyone's journey is unique. It just kind of depends on where you are and what you're looking for. I get emailed by tons of people on LinkedIn all the time, asking for tips and advice. And I tell them this, and I even hop on the phone with them for a few minutes and say, look, tell me a little bit about your specific, background, because the advice I give you may differ depending on where you are and where you're looking to go.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. It's definitely, I'm definitely right there with you. I have had quite a journey, and I found joy and new experiences in all of it. Gives you great perspective and lots to work from. We're at the end now, Tia. Final question. What advice do you give for other brands out there? We are definitely in a period where there's still a lot of uncertainty. I think we all feel like we're coming out of it. The vaccines have rolled out, more people are, but there's still, I think, some hesitation in the marketplace. What advice do you have for brands who are still very much at home right now?
Have you taken the time to really listen to your consumers and to understand where they are, what they need, how you can add value and show up in meaningful ways? I still think that is something that more brands should really take the time to do, right? If you're not even familiar with what your brand purpose really is, then you might need to do some work there, right? Because the best marketing to me occurs when you align your consumers' values with your brand's values, and then you find those connection points. And if you don't know either your values or your consumers' values, well, then you can't do that work. So that's always the first thing that I would tell people. And I think we're still in this time where the world has changed, I think, forever moving forward. And there is no going back. So if you're already thinking like, okay, yeah, we can go back to the way it used to be, people are vaccinated, I don't think you should be thinking that way, because I don't think that's how consumers are, right? This is an inflection point. And so when you're in inflection points, you really need to stop, pause, and evaluate how are you going to operate moving forward. And inflection points are a great time to do more learning and do more introspection to then think about how do you evolve moving forward. But to me, it always starts with knowing your consumer better than anyone else and knowing who you are and who you want to be as a brand better than anyone else.
So well said, Tia. Just thank you. Fabulous conversation. Shout out to Tristan Walker and the entire Walker & Co team. Loving ATL. I see our friend Lauren has joined us again, but I hope everyone really heard that. Listen to your customer. There's so many things that your customer is going to tell you that you're not going to figure out otherwise. So I think for brands at home, that's got to be the key moving forward. So thank you.
Thank you, Sharon.
Yeah, thank you both so much. Drinks soon, please.
Oh, yes.
Ready.
We're going to be outside.
Vaccinated. Let's go.
Okay, let's do it. I'll talk to you guys soon then.
Get vaccinated.
Amen. All right. Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
Have a great rest of the day. All right. We're going to keep the Atlanta movement going here because we've got a good friend of ours, Matt Tarulo. Matt is the Global Vice President of Amazon at the Coca-Cola Company. And